What is going on, Trash Talkers? We are back with another episode for you. Today, we continue our series on a deep dive of some of the best talent in April's NFL draft. We're going to take a look at Justin Fields, quarterback from Ohio State today. We're going to give you all of his measurables, pros and cons about the player himself, and which teams we believe he's going to end up with. All that and much more coming your way right now! All right, Nick. We talked about Trevor Lawrence 2 days ago, Zach Wilson today. It's only fitting that we cover Justin Fields now and take a look at the best of the best from the quarterbacks in this year's draft. Why don't you get us started? Tell us a little bit about Mr. Justin Fields.
At 6'3" and almost 230 pounds, he's a beefy guy. He's got a thick frame that's going to work perfectly in any system. And I think that he has shown at Ohio State that he can excel really well against top tier competition, and he's able to handle big games very well. He had a little bit of a down year last year, but I think that's just because he lost a ton of talent and struggled with a hard turnover. So I think that you got to kind of throw that away and just look at everything else he's done, because he's been absolute dynamite for them in Ohio State. So I think that overall, Justin Fields is obviously a top three quarterback, but arguably the second best quarterback in this draft. And he's really got it all going for him. He can make any pass, literally any pass. This guy has the perfect touch on all of his throws. He's got a great sense in the pocket. He knows how to feel pressure. He knows when to scramble, when to sit in the pocket, when to make plays with his feet. Got a great football IQ, and his read progression is extremely fast. He knows which reads he needs to make when, and when to get rid of the ball. I really, really like that about him. And he is because of his big frame, he's able to handle outside linebackers and defensive backs very well. He's not afraid of some contact, which I really like in quarterbacks.
Yeah, I believe that Justin Fields is one of the best quarterbacks not only in this draft, but that we've seen in many years. I mean, the top three quarterbacks in this draft have so much to offer this league. They will be the top three, some of the top three quarterbacks in the league for the next 10, 15 plus years. I honestly and truly believe that what we saw in 2004 with Eli Manning, Ben Roethlisberger, and Philip Rivers, I think that's what we're seeing here is the same type of talent, not necessarily actual players, but just the overarching ability to dominate the league for 10 or more years, 10, 15 years. So with that being said, we're looking at Justin Fields and his ability to just be as athletic as possible. He can literally flick the ball and it goes 50 plus yards down the field. Outside of Chris Olave, he struggled finding any other receivers. It was tough. Ohio State did lose a ton of players to the draft last year. So I think that has a lot to do with it. But one thing that you're not going to hear from most people that I want to really harp on here, it comes off the field, and it's his leadership ability. What this man did to not only bring back Ohio State football, but bring back Big Ten football during the year of the coronavirus, during the pandemic, when everybody was closing up shop, he was the one who was trying to develop a way that players could be safe at the same time as playing the game that they love. And when you take a look at what Justin Fields was able to do, rallying not only Ohio State players, but players around the Big Ten and around the NCAA to stand up and fight for what they believe in, this man is a natural born leader, and he is somebody that needs to be revered on and off the field. He is going to be a guy that we're talking about for many, many years to come, whether it's in football or away from it. I believe that the moment he steps into the building, building, he exudes leadership qualities that you cannot teach anybody. He is a natural born leader, and he is going to demand that leadership on the field, and it will end up leading to his inevitable success in the NFL.
Yeah, and I just want to expound on that a little bit. I remember back at the national championship game where he was completely beat up going into that game. We weren't even sure if he was going to play. And then he goes out on the field, has a spectacular performance in the beginning, and then he gets hurt, but is trying his absolute hardest to come back into the game. He's working with trainers on the bike, trying to stay ready to go. If it weren't for the injuries just catching up for him, who knows what would happen in the national championship game, but this man is an absolute leader. He leads by example. He is the role model you're going to want on your team. I really, really like him. As for the cons, though, there are a couple. And as I mentioned before, I really like how he's able to handle contact. But I think that something, and we obviously, if you've been watching the series, we've been harping on this with a lot of quarterbacks, and this is mainly targeted at Justin Fields. He really likes contact, and he's got to be extremely careful. Just because he's a thicker guy and can handle the bigger hits doesn't mean his body's going to be able to handle it all the time. And I think that he's got to be a little bit more conservative with how much he's taking those big hits. He's got to remember he's a quarterback first and a runner second. I think that if he is taught a little bit more about that and is a little bit more conservative in that sense, he can be an elite quarterback in the NFL. And I think that he needs to not be as hesitant on some throws, especially in big games. He is very careful with the ball and reminds me a little bit of Jimmy Garoppolo, where he just doesn't want to make mistakes, but he's also missing big plays. So I think he's got to develop a little bit in that area. And he also has some games where just nothing clicks for him. And that could be just because at Ohio State this past season, he didn't have the weapons he was used to. And it was just the culture change that really hurt him last season. But I mean, he did have a couple games where it was a little iffy, and it made you kind of question whether he was the true number two to Trevor Lawrence, or if Zach Wilson is actually better than Justin Fields and should be taken ahead of him. But I think if he can work through these small issues, he can prove to be one of the best quarterbacks taken in this draft.
Yeah, and as somebody who has spoken, so highly about Justin Fields, and I've listened to Ohio State head coach Ryan Day, who I know pretty well. What you look for in a quarterback, what you look for in a guy that's supposed to lead your team, he checks every single box. I mean, this guy is absolutely prepared to do anything and everything for his team and his franchise. And you know what? I'm going to include that just a little bit in the cons, because he does need to stay healthy. As I talked about with Zach Wilson and Trevor Lawrence, we saw what happened to Dak Prescott, and we cannot see that happen again with some of these guys. He needs to make sure that he's learning, he's being smart with his body, he's not taking as many risks. Now, the one con that I have for Justin Fields is the type of offense that he was running in the NFL was a little more catered to the college style play that we're used to, that more than the NFL. It wasn't really an NFL pro ready system. It was a lot of run option, but not RPOs, that just simply, different run options and one read type of passing plays. I believe that he has the capability to make every single play and learn an NFL playbook, but coming from the offense that he did at Ohio State, it's going to be a complete turnaround. And I think a lot of NFL teams are going to take a look at that and look at a drawback. And that's why I believe he's going to be the third quarterback taken off this draft board.
Yeah, it'll definitely be interesting to see where he's taken, but nonetheless, Justin Fields has all of the tangibles and intangibles that you want in your quarterback, and there is no reason to hesitate on choosing this guy. As far as NFL comparisons go, he reminds me a ton of Deshaun Watson. He is able to extend plays with his feet and make spectacular throws, and really knows how to dissect defenses. And when you just watch him, he looks like a duplicate of Deshaun Watson. But I think he also reminds me of Dak Prescott as well. I think that his versatility and his ability to never give up and try to always fight for extra yards and to fight for his team, I think that he really reminds me of Dak Prescott in that mental sense.
Yeah, I was actually going to go with Dak Prescott here. It's easy to say Deshaun Watson. They kind of look very similar as far, when they have the pads and the helmet on. They just look, stature wise and the way they throw the football. But Dak Prescott, I mean, you talk about a natural born leader, somebody who exudes confidence and commands your attention when you're in the huddle or when you're in the locker room. That's Dak Prescott. That's this guy. He does absolutely everything for the team. And while I believe Justin Fields is a little better skill wise than Dak Prescott is, which is why we're seeing him in the first five or so picks of the 2021 NFL draft. You know, I just believe that overall we cannot diminish what the mental state of the quarterback is and his ability to do absolutely everything both on and off the field. I think you have to take a look at a player like Dak Prescott and say that that's the guy he reminds me of.
Absolutely. And then when we're looking at teams that we should expect him to go to, you got to look at the New York Jets. I would say the Atlanta Falcons, and I would say the 49ers. I think the 49ers are a sleeper team that you need to watch out for. I would expect them, if they suspect there's another team that might try to move up, they're going to also try to move up because I'm not sold that Jimmy Garoppolo is the guy, and I don't think they're sold since the amount we've heard them trying to shop him and get another quarterback in. If they can't get another quarterback in the NFL right now, I think they're going to look for the draft, and Justin Fields is the perfect guy for Kyle Shanahan's system.
Yeah, I'll echo the sentiment that I believe the Jets are in play here, assuming that they're not going to build around Sam Darnold. The Falcons need a succession plan for Matt Ryan, so whether that's Zach Wilson or Justin Fields is completely up to them. And then from there, it's kind of a crapshoot. I believe that a team is going to try to trade up and try to select him here. I'm looking at teams like the 49ers, the Carolina Panthers, and the New England Patriots. Those are the top three teams that I'm going to talk about here. I believe that these teams need quarterback and they're willing to do whatever it takes to get that quarterback. It's going to be a haul to come after getting this guy. You're looking at 2 to 3 first round picks if he's still on the board. So it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out, but nonetheless, this is what we're looking at. All right, that'll be all for now. Thank you all for watching. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit that notification bell. We go live every single day. That'll be all for now. Peace and love.